Okay. This is going to be a short episode today. I'm getting used to the whole Twitch capture system. Plus, I have a new mic setup, so hopefully, when I play this all back, it will not sound terrible. That's the hope. So when we last left our hero, we came here to Lordran, the land of the ancient lords. And let's first rest at this bonfire. Now that we're in Lordran, we can level up and lose souls. We have 1418 right now. You'll notice it tells us sort of how many souls are required, how many we have. So our first level up requires at some point about all these stats. Right now, I'm just going to increase dexterity. Sure, I'll just increase endurance. Stamina is always good to have. Stamina is one of the ways that you stay alive. You might think, oh, I'll just add things into vitality. Maybe I will later. But in the words of Isaiah, don't get hit. Right? So, see here, I don't have enough souls to level up. There are also these other things, kindling and reverse hollowing. They don't tell you anything about. So when you click on Kindle, you notice you can only do it when you're not hollowed. Whatever reverse hollowing is, you need humanity for. At some point, I'll try to find some time to explain the humanity system. But for now, we'll just leave that well enough alone. All we're going to do this episode is just wander around and fiddle with my game here a little bit. And just sort of explore this Firelink Shrine main area. This place seems huge. There are actually a ton of different ways you can go. I'll talk to both men in a second. there's a staircase down here. There are stairs that sort of run up along the cliff towards the aqueduct. There's this door here. An area back there. Let's close this corpse. I don't know what these humanities are, but I have them. And there are actually a few sort of sub-areas, even if I go through this archway. The main way that this game gates things off is it gives you the sort of these great vistas and all these branching pathways. And the majority of them either turn back in on themselves, or if they go to a place that maybe you shouldn't start going, the biggest way you figure that out is that you barely do any damage to the enemies and they kill you all almost instantly. And then you think, maybe I should try one of these other paths. But first, let's talk to this sad sack.
Well, what do we have here? You must be a new arrival. Let me guess, fate of the undead, right? Well, you're not the first, but there's no salvation here. You'd have done better to rot in the undead asylum.
You know, if you ever sort of get confused about what...
Well, since you're here, let me help you out. There are actually two bells of awakening. One's up above in the undead church. The other is far, far below, in the ruins at the base of Blight Town. Ring them both, and something happened. Brilliant, right? Not much to go on, but I have a feeling that won't stop you.
If we wanted to go towards the first,
it is why you came, isn't it? To this accursed land of the undead.
Probably in the next episode. Like I said, this is a short episode. I'm just gonna kind of wander around.
Your face.
You can talk to
You're practically
all NPCs multiple
hollow.
times.
But who knows? Going hollow could solve quite a bit.
We'll meet more NPCs in the future besides this guy. And some of those NPCs will actually come back here and sort of sit around the fire. So we'll talk to them later. And something that I have to be careful of is all NPCs can be attacked. All the mechanics in this game are exactly the same. So you can be stabbed. You can stab this guy, and then you can fight him. But then, he won't give you interesting tidbits anymore. And he's also then always aggro to you, except unless you talk to a very specific person sort of a little later in the game to try and, make nice with him again. Otherwise, you're stuck. Every time you respawn at that fire, he'll be there trying to kill you until you kill him. So we're not going to do that. This is a fire keeper. She's the one who's keeping that flame we call burning. If we find souls of other fire keepers, then we can actually bring them to her and she'll reinforce her Estus flask and make it stronger. The thing I'm going to do now is I'm just going to wander around. I know where some sort of starting items are. One of the things you can do because items stay on you and souls get destroyed is you can do sort of suicide runs to try and grab items as long as you don't care about losing all the souls. And I'm not going to do that a ton after the starting area. But doing it in the starting area lets me grab a few things right at the beginning, and also lets me talk about all these areas that we'll be going to eventually. So the first area I want to show off is down this elevator. These elevators, the button you press on them, you can also see a large switch. There's another one down here as well that you can use to call the elevator if it's not there. Note that if I die and I come back to this elevator will still be down here. And, I might run and fall into the elevator shaft if I don't realize that and just try to run onto where I thought the elevator was going to be. So sometimes what's good to do, if you think that you're likely to die someplace, is I could roll onto that button, wait for the elevator to start going up, and then roll off of it down here to sort of reset the elevator back to the top. But I don't expect to get into any fights down here, so we'll leave it where it is. It's a soul item. Soul items are sort of just what it says on the tin. They're an item that if you sort of pop it, then it gives you a certain amount of souls depending on the size of the item. The main use for these are if you have some key level up, you know, but you're almost at the number of souls you need to level up, but not quite. Or later we'll see if you're upgrading a weapon or repairing something and you just don't have enough. You know, these are souls that stay on you after you die, so they're a little bit safer. So, a bunch of sad people. See if I can do this. I wanted to wait until after Christmas when I got my sound system. So this is the new Londo ruins, and see if we can get a nice look at them. It's a murky, nasty looking place. If we go down near there, you'll see that it's also flooded. The new Londo ruins is the place I was trying to show you. It's a really cool atmosphere. Let me just show you. Remembering how to do this. I think this is a weapon that I want to use. I apologize again. Talking while doing this is tricky. So, oh man, I need 10 strength, and I just used the level up. So I have 9 strength. So if I put my next level up into strength, I can use this. You'll notice it has this required parameters. That's how I know I don't have enough. And it gives you a huge minus to the attack bonus if you don't have the required parameters. So I'm going to stick with my dagger for now and probably come back to that and see. Oh, I almost got to get out of there. You'll notice that pipe, that urn has a body in it. Usually indicative of something. Maybe a humanity or a soul. Yes, the transient curse. So, the trick, as it were, to the New Londo ruins, is that it's all flooded and it's full of ghosts. And normal weapons like this dagger I have can't do any damage to ghosts whatsoever. The only way, because ghosts are cursed, and the only way you can interact with them if you too are cursed. So the two ways that you do that are you use the transient curse items that are picked up, and you sort of temporarily make yourself cursed. There's like, I forget exactly how many minutes, but it's a consumable, so if you die, you use them to find them. There's a place you can buy them later. Or you can find a way to inflict the curse status on yourself, which is a terrible status that halves your maximum experience. But it has a side benefit then that you don't have to use transient curses down here, because you use this. I don't know this guy. A few sort of quick things without having to go into the ruins themselves.
Well, this is unusual. You haven't lost your head. And more importantly, you're free. How on earth? Well, I shouldn't pry. I'm Rickett of Vinheim. I was once an established smith, though. Look at me now. Can you believe it?
I can't believe it. So...
Have you? Oh no. Don't worry. I've no intention of escaping.
Vendor. Like, I guess
it's safe here. I can't bear the thought of going hollow out there. Although, I must admit, I've not much to occupy myself. How about this? I could forge your weapons, albeit with rather minimal tools. I'll show you what made me the best in Vinheim.
So, some other episode I'll probably talk about all this stuff. So, Weapon Ascension. The rough way Weapon Ascension works is that you can find items that let you give special properties to upgraded weapons, like fire, magic, etc. And then there are specific sort of forge masters that you have to give those Ascension items to. So, for example, the one that grants magic, turns items into magic items, you have to give to this guy, and then they can modify them. Reinforcement is just a much lower level thing where you spend souls and Titanite shards, and then later bigger and bigger pieces of Titanite to turn them into, like the Bandit's Knife into the Bandit's Knife +1, etc. You can do that with armor as well. You can repair equipment, which you'll see over here. It's just, I need to spend 30 souls right now if I want to repair this. I'm just going to repair the hilt, even though I'm never going to use it again. So if I still have it on me, it won't show up in this menu. You can buy things. So he sells some sorceries, and he sells the Sorcerer's Catalyst, which you need to use to cast sorceries. All that's way too expensive right now.
Goodbye then.
I feel like talking to him.
Keep your head on
But I just wanted to say hi and show that he is down here. This is a way we can go into the future. So normally, you can't open this door, but because one of my starting names with the Master Key, this opens here into what's called the Valley of Drakes, which is way tougher than I want to go to at my current level and current ability. But you can use this actually to sort of skip a whole huge section of this game, so I could run down that way. This way is the safe way. If I cross that bridge and go along the cliffside down the other way, then I end up in the Valley of Drakes. I couldn't remember from somewhere. And if I go across the bridge and into the cave, and I can find a shortcut into a place called Blighttown, which is again both of those are sort of much later in the game. And so one of the key things the Master Key does is it lets you sort of skip a bunch of areas that are otherwise tricky to find the keys for. Also, it lets us get this. A large soul. Great. So, okay, so we've got 2, maybe 3 difficult areas that we've mapped out here. That's enough for 1 ruins. So let's escape. I swear, I know where I'm going. I've played this game before. I actually haven't played this game before, but you'd think watching enough of this game would be. No. Let's head back up. So that's sort of 2, basically 1 way. And if you start with the Master Key, then you have kind of 2 more ways you can go. But you pretty quickly find out that things were bad news in all of those directions, so we're just going to run back to the shrine, show off a few more areas. Like I said, going up that staircase is where we're going to start the next episode, so let's just plot out. Already open, and when I first saw this, I was excited. I thought it was just showing you that this place is so well traveled that at one point maybe there was treasure here, but you're not going to expect it anytime now. but I heard, and I'll confirm before the next time I record/stream, that if you can drop items, you can just get rid of them, and if you drop like some key item that makes it impossible to finish the game, that it will respawn eventually in here. So that's kind of cool, that there's like a little bit of world building, and if that's correct, then it also is, you know, something to keep the game going and stop you from getting in a position where you just have to restart because you accidentally threw away a critical part of the game. You can see our little friend who brought us here. So that's cool. You can look out over this big old graveyard. So this is another direction we can go. And I'm going to go there today, but I'm going to go there from another direction that you'll see. And I'm not going to stay there for long, because this is sort of one of the first areas. It is so close to the bonfire. This is one of the first areas that you might think, oh, this is where I'm supposed to go. And there are a bunch of skeletons, and especially if you're using a slashing or piercing weapon, you do almost no damage to them, and they usually spawn in pairs. So it's a bad time. But I wanted to use this opportunity to sort of look around. You can see all these keeps down there. If you look down there, you can kind of see some of the Londo ruins. I talked before about item placement, sort of pointing you in directions you'll go, if not now, some point in the future. So you can see an item out there in the graveyard enticing me into the graveyard. But even just things like this, like look how big that tree is. That is a giant tree, right? And the thing that I said on the small scale about items is true on the large scale as well. And one of the reasons why I like this game so much, even more so than Demon Souls or Dark Souls 2, is that almost everything you see sort of far away in the distance, part of the skybox, you will go to eventually. So I look up here, there's this wall, you know, I looked at the aqueduct before. All of these things are places you will go to eventually in the game. You'll eventually crawl your way down and find yourself at the base of that tree. And so all of that's just really awesome, that the entire world is connected. And it's not just a bunch of individual levels separated. And actually, we'll probably find a way to interact with him again. But for now, I'm just going to go grab that treasure. I don't think I can see... I'll see if I can see the other treasure that continues to make this point. More souls. I can't see it from here. I guess I'll just say it now. So there's an item. This just teaches you how to do gestures, which are useful in multiplayer because it's the only way you can communicate with someone that comes into your game. And the reason why they do that here is that this guy will teach you your first new gesture. We're going to ignore him for now. Sorry, Petros, we'll come back to you. What was I saying about things you look at? I think from here I can see it. Yeah, so I grab this, and then I look over here. Can you see it from this side? There it is. Yeah, it was just, you couldn't see it in the sky bloom. So we see this looks all kind of like window dressing, this whole area over there, right? This destroyed tower, maybe this destroyed chapel. But then you see a corpse there. I see a corpse there. Let's see if I can, there we go. You see a corpse there, you see loot, and now you say, oh wow, the game at some point expects me to be able to go there. And I don't see how I'll be able to go there now. Like even if I do a running jump to that, which would be tricky, I don't see how I'd get up there. But we'll be able to get there later. And that's just like, that's one of those things that's a great hint for something to come. And this is something that happens in a lot of games. I know I think one of the most famous ones is in Grand Theft Auto San Andreas, when you do a whole bunch of work and you get inside, or I guess that would be Grand Theft Auto 4. I'm not sure. But you do a whole bunch of work in, I guess it's Grand Theft Auto 4, because that's set in not New York. You do a whole bunch of work, you get inside the Statue of Liberty, and then there's the Statue of Liberty, inside the Statue of Liberty has a beating heart. And it's that sort of thing where you as the player think that you're sequence breaking, or you think that you're pushing the limit of what the designers had intended. And for a certain kind of player who really enjoys exploring, that can be really validating to like get to a point in a level where like there's nothing but invisible walls, or there's scenery that hasn't been flagged as a surface, and you walk right through a mountain or whatever. But it's extra rewarding when you go through what you think is a ridiculous amount of trouble, and then there's something there. There's like a treasure like that or something where you suddenly realize that the developer had in mind for some subset of players to get here, and they're rewarding you for that level of attention to detail and perseverance and exploration. And for that type of player, I think that's especially rewarding when you feel like you broke it, and then the developer reins you in and says, "No, you didn't break it. We expected some of you to come here. Here, have a reward, even though you didn't break it." This is an elevator shaft. Normally, I don't jump into elevator shafts, but you can see the floor here, and actually, there's a way out. And this way out gives you a whole bunch of free treasure. So there are 4 treasure chests here. Doesn't have a ton of stuff that we actually need. Cracked red eye orbs allow you to, they relate to invading other players' games. We're playing this all in offline mode, so it does almost literally nothing except clog up our inventory. Morningstar and a talisman. These are sort of some of the starting-esque items if you were playing cleric. You grab some of them here. As we'll see later, a talisman is like the catalyst for sorceries. You need a talisman to cast miracles. And so, if you found this here, then if you wanted to like later learn how to cast miracles, like healing spell or whatever, then you don't have to buy it. It's just not worth it. You got it right here. Homeward bones. So these are consumable items that if you use them, you work back to your last bonfire. They can be really handy if you're way out of your depth and maybe you have a lot of souls and you want to get back to the bonfire to spend them without dying. Because that's really the sort of key pressure. That's where a lot of the excitement from this game comes from, is I'm exploring a new area. It's probably the hardest area I've been to date, and I'm gaining more and more souls. I'm gaining more and more souls, and I have a ton of souls, and so should I go back to a bonfire and find some safe way to spend them, or should I push onward with the understanding that if I die, I'll have a very long way indeed to get back home. So Homeward Bones can help it if you decide at the moment, nope, I'm cutting my losses. That gives you a way to cut your losses immediately and not have to run back through a place that might still be dangerous to get back home. So here's the last thing. This gives you Lloyd's Talismans, which are useful in PvP. If you throw them, the thing that you hit can't use Estus Flasks to recover for a certain period of time, and it's not super useful. There's not a ton of enemies that use Estus Flasks to an extent that you would explicitly need to use time to stop them from doing it. The best way to stop someone from healing is to stab them over and over again. But that's useful in PvP because, as a player, you use Estus Flasks all the time. Remember how I said I was coming back to the graveyard earlier? So that's the staircase that I was looking at the top of. And there's no way to get back except by rolling into this. And as soon as I do that, I'm going to spawn these 2 skeletons. So what I'm going to try and do is grab a bunch of items in the graveyard here, and then almost certainly die. You see here our first real Dark Souls trap of, oh no, grab an item. But you can see the trap there. there was, ooh, shiny, and you went to grab it, and then 2 skeletons assembled themselves behind you. You might have noticed there was a purple bar that filled up there, and then at some point it turned yellow, and then I got a red indicator that said blood loss, so that's bleeding. So some items inflict statuses, and the first one you can see here is the bleeding status, and all that happens is if you're getting hit a lot of times with a weapon that has the bleeding status, I'll see if I can grab my souls. I should have spent before I decided to run the graveyard. Then this bar slowly fills up, and you're totally safe until the bar fills up all the way, and then the status kicks in. And in this case, the bleeding status, you just lose a huge chunk of health all at once. Alright, so we're going to try and grab this, and then run back to Firelink, and sit at the bonfire before the skeletons reach me, so that I can send them back to their places. If they get too close, then it won't let me sit at the bonfire. So let's see. You can see here that just getting to the bottom of the stairs triggers those first 2 skeletons, so we have a few skeletons running after this. This, in hopes of ruining their path. Enemies are pretty predictable in their pattern, but will, in general, follow a lot of them. Some enemies have for very specific ranges, and you can learn those ranges to try and chase them out. You'll almost certainly be doing that for at least some of the enemies in this game, because it doesn't count as cheesing if it's not against another player. Not that I have anything against cheesing in specific situations. I prefer playing to win in all realms. Really the only thing that's going to cause me not to cheese some enemies in this game is if it doesn't make very good viewing. Like, you know, I'm not going to be, if I get either a bow and arrow or range spells later, I'm not going to be using them a ton because while some enemies have like a very low aggro radius and you can kill them outside of it, it's super boring to just like watch someone, you know, fire over you can. So we wanted to get a strength level so we can try out that this stuff. And in general, like if you don't really have any plan, you know, something like endurance is fine, and then beyond that, you really only level up things when maybe you find a new cool weapon that you can't use. Here's the S-dot. So there's the heavy. The light is slap, which is, I really like, especially later when we get into very sort of, there's some places that have close quarters. And so, having something that when you swing it, let's see if I can show an example here. See how when I hit the wall there, that it cancels my swing? So that will almost never happen. So we'll fool around with it. Okay, so there are 2 or 3 more items in the graveyard that I want to run to grab. And then I'm going to go talk to Petrus, so we can learn a little bit about miracles from that dour gentleman. And then we're gonna call it, and we'll succeed. Okay, so we've got a large soul. Keep running, keep running. We've got guys spawning behind us. Oh boy, we've got more guys spawning in. Keep running. Even more guys spawning. Remember where we are. And a gigantic guy spawning. Zweihander is actually a 2-handed weapon that you can take for almost the entirety of the game. Binoculars. Hey, that was one of the starting items. You got it. And then on this graveyard. You can see this kind of like feels a little cheesy. You just got 30 skeletons to chase you, and you took the weapons, and now you're back where you wanted to be with all those items. I mean, I'm just writing off those 150 souls as a loss. And then the last 2 things I want to pick up are, I think there's a spear and a shield in the graveyard. But picking up binoculars is nice, because then you can get a better look at some vistas. And they can help you if you're being super observant, you know, see traps coming, etc. I'm probably won't be doing but also just wanted to show that, you know, oh boy, I've made a terrible mistake. That is not the staircase. Anyway, I believe I was just saying how smart I was and clever by not choosing the binoculars as a starting item, because there's literally a pair of binoculars right there. I'm gonna blame that one on trying to talk while running areas, even an area that I have probably literally seen hundreds of times, despite never playing it before. Oh boy. Oh good, I'm gonna get my 0 seconds. Okay, so the trick is, one is up that way, and then one is down that way. And I think I'm gonna go up first, because then if I go down, I can find the second item, and then just run downwards and show you another item. So that's the link here, another very reasonable weapon. Start with running from these. Whoa. Oh, well. This is truly embarrassing. It is so embarrassing that my cat, he's normally yowling up a storm if it's within an hour of his food time, is just staring in silence, shocked at the screen. And I'm hoping I can actually survive to show you where the shield is, because I can show you yet another path that you could find out too. Because I noticed when I went to binoculars, they were right on the edge of a cliff, so you might even survive either fighting the skeletons or just running away from them and think to yourself, there's nothing here. You know, it's just this graveyard that's meant to be full of difficult enemies and nothing else. But I'm actually going to go down the staircase, and this brings you to yet another area you can go to right away, the catacombs, which looks so gross. And this area is definitely too hard when you first start it, for reasons that I will explain later. Especially when sort of these default skeleton enemies are already too hard for us. That's one of the things that I think is improved between Souls 1 and 2 is that the camera is much better. There's another shield in there, but I'm not going to bore you all with trying to run the graveyard again. Basically, there's a shield that's sort of just off to the left, but not so far left that you go down the staircase into the catacombs. So let me just point to... Oh right, I need to talk to Petrus. Petrus is a holy man. He's like kind of creepy. But that's true of almost everyone in this game. That they're vaguely creepy.
Hello there. I believe we are not acquainted. I am Petrus of Firelink. Have you business with us? If not, I'd prefer to keep a distance, if possible.
And they all sort of have their own storylines that you can pay attention to or not, alternately.
Hello there.
Hi.
I realize that I have requested that we retain
smelly,
our
but
distance.
We still want to talk to you.
But I also want you to know, here, take this. No, go ahead.
He's going to give us
It's
something.
for you.
Copper coin. Sweet, money. But wait, the only currency is souls. So all this coin does is try and tell something about the world that was.
How about this?
Ago,
I have to await my companions here so what if I would
Sure,
that?
teach me some miracles, man. Yes.
Very well.
Yes, let's have a covenant with the gods. I have no idea what a covenant is. Let's just join the random covenant with some god I don't know about. That's totally fine. There are a ton of different covenants in this game. Some of them easier or harder to get to and join. And they all sort of do different things. This one is
Now
kind of
let me share
generic.
my miracles.
Covenant of the gods,
Only their
because
ultimate
you have to
effectiveness
do it
will be
for
determined by
the
your
sort of
efforts
starting miracle
and your
salesman
faith.
to sell you things. Which, he talks about the effectiveness and your faith and blah blah blah, but what he actually means is it's all about souls and money, baby. From this gesture, now I know how to shrug. And I can talk.
Come
about things,
again.
but I'm not going to.
The effectiveness of the teachings.
His story, he's kind of a jerk. That's fine. We'll talk with him more later. So let's just set up. So, New London ruins. If we had the master key, we could also go to the Valley of the Drakes in Blighttown. We can also go into the catacombs, or we can go up these stairs to a place with enemies that won't kill us in 1 or 2 hits. So that's nice. Let's just end the episode here with our new gesture. It's kind of an episode. And I'll see you all for episode 3.